hello, hello. Good to see you. Boop. You get fairy dust. I get fairy dust. Little sweet Amelie gets fairy dust. And welcome to another chapter of my eating disorder recovery story. So last we left, I had been free from purging for 10 years, although I was not free from being obsessed with food. And then one day, I just walk into the bathroom and throw up my food after a very stressful dinner. Very stressful day, very stressful dinner. I didn't think I was gonna do it, like at any time in the day. It just happened. It just took me over. And I learned that my addiction was really more powerful than anything else, more powerful than my recovery, more powerful than my integrity, more powerful than my convictions, more powerful than my values. It's more powerful than everything. And I want to refer back to, if I put my the exercise when I was in treatment, and she tore up when I said, she says, write down the most important things to you, like your most important things. And then the therapist came around, she'd read it, and then she'd just tear it up and throw it on the ground. And the first one was my kids. And she tore up my fucking kids and threw them on the ground. Absolutely not. But then the big reveal is that if your recovery is not number one, you will lose all the other things. And so my dog wants to she loves tearing up paper. Oh, she loves it. If I don't put my recovery first, then I will lose everything, including my kids. I'll lose my relationship with my kids. I could make a stupid mistake, and I don't want to do that. I want to live in recovery. I want to live a sober life. So, but then I learned that my addiction to food and binging and purging, that it was greater than my integrity, my values, my convictions, my intelligence, which Freud does say, our intelligence is used in service of our neurosis. And so my intelligence, my addiction will use my intelligence to defeat my recovery. So, and then what I also learned, I couldn't get it back. I could not get my recovery back. Again, I would have times of, sobriety, and then I wouldn't, and back and forth. And it was very upsetting, very challenging. I went through a depression during, these years that I'm speaking about. And also I mentioned I have migraines. I have chronic migraines. So I have a number of migraines every single month. And I would use food to cope with those and give myself full permission. Like, it's like, oh, you're outside of your eating disorder. You can do whatever you want with food while you have headaches. But then the insanity comes when I would purge during migraines. It's like, what are you doing? Anyway, so I have decided that, there's no amount of it's insane. The second step of a 12-step program is that, a higher power can restore us to sanity. The shit I was doing with food was insane. But I have to say, I'm really grateful that I relapsed, because just like had I not started purging, I would have just been overweight my entire life and never thought I had a problem. I wouldn't have recognized until this century, this decade, that binge eating disorder wasn't an eating disorder. But I would have just been overweight. But when you throw up, you're like, okay, this is an eating disorder. This is a full-on eating disorder. Then I got clean, and I could have gone the rest of my life considering myself recovered from my eating disorder, in recovery from my eating disorder, but always fucking around with food. And so now I want to pause my story and talk about where I'm going from here, because I've been thinking about this a lot. And what I have noticed when I make TikToks or Instagram posts about my eating disorder, sometimes I get back like a lot of confusion and a lot of even anger toward what I do. And so I want to say a couple of things. I want to say that my eating disorder takes place in a certain period of time. When I came into, I was raised in the, 70s and 80s, and, was in my 20s during the 90s. And, thin was what you were supposed to be. Like Kate Moss was on the cover of, Twiggy. I can't think of anybody in the, whatever, 70s, all skinny. There's never a Vogue cover in the 70s with a person that is even like a normal weight. So in my brain, it has been reinforced that skinny or thin is what is needed. And so that's not the case these days. We really, our body size, we get to be accepted at all our body size. So that's, my brain is different than your brain, depending on when you were born. I didn't see any examples. I didn't have an Ashley Graham, and so my self-hatred, like even when I was a child, I grabbed my thighs. I was a little Catholic girl, like grabbing my thighs at night as a child. I don't know how old, but for sure, 4th, 5th, 6th grade, like, please God, please take this fat away, take these big legs away, like, every night. So I didn't have a role model where it's like I was beautiful. If I had huge ass thighs and a belly, And so that is reinforced in my brain. I'm working on it every single day. And I've gotten so much better. My body dysmorphia is so much better, and I accept my thighs how they are. I really do. I love them. I'm grateful to them. And the, body positivity movement has helped me with that for sure. So I want to, and so back to like comments, I know that there are kids watching this. I know that there are teenagers watching it. I don't know how, but I for sure know that teenagers are watching this, and I know that teenagers with eating disorders are watching this, and I know that teenagers with eating disorders, specifically anorexia and bulimia, I have chosen, instead of specifically talking about the things that have helped me, to be more vague about it. Because here's what I truly, truly believe. There is a path for each of us. There is a spiritual path for each of us. There is an emotional path for each of us. And for each of us in our recovery, there is our own path. And I tried a lot of different things, and finally the only thing that worked for me, the only thing that gave me any freedom from my food addiction, I found it. If you would like to get on my email list and specifically ask me what I do, I'll tell you. You can respond to any of the Wednesday newsletters, the Fairy Dusted newsletters that go out on Wednesday. You can ask me, you can reply to that, and you can ask me, and I will tell you. But for now, I feel as though that it's a pickle, because I know that there would be other people that would be helped by what I do now. So yeah, also in the books I love, there are 2 books about my eating disorder, and so that's a clue as to what I do now. So you don't even have to email me back if you want to go into the link in my bio of my Instagram and click on the books I love. There are 2 books in there that have changed my life. So that's what I do. I want to say that in the there are several 12-step programs for eating disorders. And I recommend that if you have an eating disorder, I don't feel like you can say that you've done every single thing that you can to heal your eating disorder if you do not work the 12 steps. And so I was thinking one of the things that I'll do, which will also be very controversial, is to talk about the 12 steps in the way that I understand them and the way that is most helpful to me. Because I know there's a lot of, I'll be very blunt and clear that the 12-step program is a spiritual program of recovery, but it's not excluded to agnostics and atheists. So when I start doing that, which I don't know when that will be, I'm going to continue to make eating disorder and recovery videos to be released on Sunday. But I don't know quite yet how that's going to look. But talking about the 12 steps, and let me just tell you, just as a fast forward to the 12 steps, I'm a feminist, as you can probably guess. Since I'm an advanced bitch, I'm a feminist. And, you know, they tell you in the 12-step program that you can have your higher power be whatever you want it to be. So great. But then they put in there, as you understand him. And I had a real pickle with that. So I'm a feminist, and I don't know what I am, but I really got my button cynical. I really got my button pushed by some of the steps, and I'll tell you how I understand them now and how I can apply them, because I want to apply them, because I know that they've made my life better. And again, understanding that the 12 steps isn't it's like, oh, I want to get better. It's like, oh, there's some free. You don't even have to go to the meeting. You can just Google them, and they're right there for you, to do that work. How could your life not be better after you do that work? There are what do I want to say? You probably know that 12 steps has a step in there where you make amends to the people that you have wronged. Well, for women, it looks a lot different than men. I'll just say that. And then for those amends, but also there are religions that have confession, and they're it appears in different religions they have their own version of how you confess and how you forgive and all that other stuff. So it's no different than any of those. And people report that when they do those kinds of things, they feel better than they did afterwards. So it's annoying, I know, but don't get to say you've done everything you can possibly think of to heal your eating disorder if you have not worked the steps. So I do recommend that you find a 12-step program to join. Are they perfect? No, far from it. But what's great about them is they have two things going for them. I mean, they have a lot going for them, so much going for them. But one of the things is they have really good boundaries. They have rules about crosstalk. So if I say, I'm having a hard time, another person, when it's their turn to share, it's they don't get to say, Elizabeth, let's talk about your hard time. No, they have to share what they're doing. So in 12-step meetings, people use I statements. So it's amazing. And there's boundaries, and the traditions are a whole other set of just huge boundaries. So that's really important for those of us who haven't experienced good boundaries, to be in a room like that where people respect respect boundaries. And my experience is that when people cross boundaries in the 12-step program, that there are ways that lovingly that guide it back toward honoring those boundaries. So that's a real cool thing to see. That's huge. Another thing is that the only requirement is that you want to stop having an eating disorder, that you want to be in recovery from your eating disorder. That's all you need to do to go. In fact, I would even say that the only thing that you need to be a member to claim your seat in a room like that, even if you don't want to stop ultimately, but that you're willing to stop, if you can figure out how, you deserve a chair in that room. Virtual room, since we're in the middle of a pandemic. Or an outside meeting. So there's a tradition about, like, don't share about the program because there's anonymity to it. So that's a boundary, and that's why you're not hearing me talk about a specific 12-step program. You find your 12-step program for your eating disorder. So Google 12-step programs for eating disorders and see what comes up, and then follow the thread. Oh, that one sounds more like for me, or this one sounds more like for me. I also recommend treatment. If you cannot stop, it would be, I don't know how that works in a pandemic, a treatment, but yeah, and again, I realize, like, I need support. I need fucking support to be in a daily support to be free from my eating disorder. So the to catch you up to where I am now, one of the tools of a 12-step program is a food plan. So I realize that I have to follow a food plan. So for me, that's boundaries around my food. I will say recently, a really really awesome friend, when I talked about, like, containing my food, she, who also has an eating disorder, hello, said that, oh, she could never do that. And I'm like, oh, well, anybody who's been on a diet has contained their food. It's not like it's a new thing, but we think, oh, if we're in recovery, so have boundaries around our food. I used to have boundaries around food that had to do with keto. So that meant, like, no fruit, no sweet shit, like no carbs, whatever. That's a way of measuring and containing my food. I was a vegan for a while. That was a way of containing my food and restricting my food. I was a vegetarian. I was, what other crazy shit did I do? Oh, I did intermittent fasting. Like, bitch, I did it before it was cool. As eating disorder people, we're looking for that shit way ahead of time. So, I was doing intermittent fasting like 7 years ago. And P.S. it doesn't work for me. Surprise, surprise. That was in this period of time where I'm fucking around with my food. Doesn't work for me. Also causes migraines because I don't eat for a while. So that had to go. But people who do intermittent fasting, that's containing their food. So, everybody's out there containing their food, counting calories. Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, that's fucking containing your food. Eating only foods from a certain brand, that's containing your food. So what I'm doing now is, I have specific boundaries of what I can eat and how many times a day I can eat. And so that's why I'm not being specific, because what I do won't work for you. But I have to be honest and clear that I had to contain my food into certain boundaries and time periods of day. Like, this is what I'm gonna eat, and when I eat this much, I'm done eating. And I can tell you that when I started doing this, and believe me, I was not thrilled about it. I was extremely resistant having, boundaries around my food. And why didn't I get upset? Because I had boundaries around my food in the past when I was fucking around with food and in my eating disorder, because I probably always knew when I got tired of it, I'd stop doing it. And that is exactly what I did. So it's like, oh, going on this certain plan is okay, I'm tired of that. Like, being on keto, no, I'm just going to have lunch. Or, I'm going to have a sweet or dessert or something, and it's fine. And then I'll go back on keto. Okay, that's insanity for me. That just is more sanity for me. So what I will say is finally being on a program that for me, it's 3 meals. Other people in my program do multiple meals a day, like 6 meals a day, maybe more. I don't know. But I know that there are some people that do my program that do. So again, what I do even though I'm on the same program, it's different than somebody else's, what they do. So, and you will have to follow what you need for your own body and mind. And that's why I want you to follow your thread, because you will find a way to do it. Some people's path will be intuitive eating. And what I think about intuitive eating is that if I could, I would. I am never full. I am never full. So, my intuition is that I'm never full. And so I would have to say, I do believe intuitive eating is possible and feasible. And if you can do it, I bow down to you and I consider you advanced. That ship has sailed for me. I fucked up my brain so much with my addiction that those wires are permanently broken for me. And I've got other shit I want to work on besides that. So I decided that I need to have boundaries around my food. So what I will tell you is that when I did that, it's the only time in my life that I wasn't burdened by eat something else, do something else, eat something else, do something else. I literally forgot to eat. Now, when I say forget to eat, I don't mean that I didn't eat. I just mean like, I eat at a certain time. Let's say if I eat at noon, and believe me, a lot of times it's like noon on the nose. If I eat at noon, then, and I'm waiting for it, I would forget that it was noon. And so it was like 12:30 or whatever. And then I'd be like, that's never happened before. I'm always, so shocked. And it has only happened a very few period of times, like very few, only a handful of times where I literally forgot, like, oh shit, it's time to eat. Because normally I'm just like, but not now. Like I know, like right now, I've already eaten breakfast, and so now I know, like, could I eat right now? Yes. But am I going to eat right now? No, because I'm going to respect the boundary I put for myself, and the next time I'm going to eat is at lunch. Again, for you, it might mean the next time you eat is your snack. I don't know. But I know for me, this way works for me. So, and then I am free from wanting to eat during those times. I've never been free. I have never been free until I did what I'm doing now. So, and what I do now is based on research. And to bypass my cynic, it would have to be. So I think where we go from here, so I'm clean. I've been clean and sober for a while now, and I've never been happier. And is it still hard? Yes. Is it still annoying? Yes. I just realized this is always what it's going to look like for me. Maybe over the course of these next 4 years or something, if I continue to stay sober, then I will, maybe it will be easier, but I don't know. But I'm okay with this level of hard. I'm okay with it. I can totally do it. I'm up for the challenge. So your job at this point is to find what works for you. And again, you don't get to say that you have done everything that you can. You haven't. You haven't. If you're like, I've tried therapy, we'll try a different therapy. I've tried treatment, we'll try a different treatment. I've tried this, we'll try something else. Because, that's the first thing the inner saboteur is going to say. Oh, you tried that, don't try. That's the first thing your addictive voice is going to say. Don't do that. So, but you have to follow your own thread. Okay. I hope that's helpful. And I think the next thing I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to talk about the 12 steps. So I'm going to just talk about my interpretation of how I made them work for me. It doesn't work for everybody, but that's what I'm going to use these next few videos for. If you have any questions for me about this, about my story up until this point, please feel free to let me know. You can, like I said, the best way I think right now to get me, my DMs are so full. I have so many messages in my DMs and I can't get to them all. You can definitely leave a comment, but a lot of this stuff is really, it's hard to share it loud. But if you can, that's amazing. I bow down to you. And just know when you do, you help other people feel less ashamed. At this point on my YouTube, you can put a comment in the YouTube and I will read it and get to it. There will probably be a time where I won't be able to get to everything, but that'll be okay. We'll just figure out another way. But for sure, if you join my newsletter, if you just hit reply, you can talk to me. Okay. I hope this helps helpful. Love you. Bye.